Welcome to the latest supporters update. My name's Debs McCann and I'm Woodcraft Folks CEO. The reason why we do these quarterly updates is to keep our members and supporters updated by what's going on across the folk, to try and encourage you to get more involved and see opportunities where you can support and give us feedback and suggestions. And of course, to give you opportunities to ask questions at any point. Throughout this session, you are welcome to interrupt me either by putting a message in the chat or asking a question by simply unmuting yourself. At the end of the session, we'll stop the recording and have an open Q&A, because I know some of you feel a little embarrassed asking questions on the recording. In today's supporters update, we're going to give you a little bit about group news, but the major focus will be on our centres, what they're up to, their events, the things that they're finding difficult, as well as opportunities for you to get involved as a volunteer. And we'll end the session with a few ways that you can help Woodcraft Folk as it heads into its centenary year in 2025. So in terms of group news, we are really pleased to have opened new groups around the country, so in Birmingham, Colliers Wood, in Wimbledon, Hounslow, in Lewis down on the south coast, South Norwood and Stroud. We've got a few other new groups bubbling around the country, including in the Forest of Dean, which will be near neighbours to our site, Biblins. We are really keen to hear from anybody who would like to act as a new group buddy, somebody who's willing to pick up the phone and just check in with the new groups and answer any questions and share their experience of what it's like to volunteer for the folk. If this is something that you feel that you could do, please drop our membership team an email at membership@woodcraft.org.uk. and we'll put you in touch. You don't necessarily need to be in the same geographical location as the new group, because you can support from afar. But obviously, it would be best if perhaps you could go along occasionally and see the group in practice and offer them some feedback, or even showcase how you would facilitate a group. The membership team are hosting online fireside chats for those groups who are new, or for individuals who are interested in setting up a new group. These happen every other month, although we will be taking a little break in the summer, so the next one is in September. Do check out the calendar for the joining information for that. As well as our new groups, our existing groups are always busy. We've been encouraging them to explore the general election, and I heard a great story from our Bristol group about how on the eve of the general election they were involved in voting and discussing on their flavours of squash rather than political parties, but they also had an in-depth discussion about single transferable votes and the need for ID and how that disadvantages our young members. Other things our groups have been involved in is a number of recruitment campaigns, both for volunteers and for young people, and we've been supporting groups who across the country who volunteered for that. If you're interested in being involved in the next series of advertising, please get in contact with Lauren Penny. Over the weekend, we saw an article in The Guardian highlighting Woodcraft Folks' need for volunteers to meet the growing demand that we're experiencing, which resulted in twice as many clicks on the website and inquiries being submitted. So if you are a group leader, do check your inbox. It may be that you've got some emails from individuals who read that Guardian article. Here on the screen at the moment is a photograph from the Restore Nature Now campaign. Some of our groups participated in that. You can see the London regional banner there in the middle of the shot. That was delivered in partnership with a whole host of other voluntary organisations, including the Woodland Trust, the Wildlife Trust, RSPB, Extinction Now, and many, many others. Other parts of the organisation are preparing for our centenary year and Count 100. We were delighted to open bookings for Count 100 on the 1st of July. do take a look at the Count 100 website and the latest information pack for groups. If you have any questions, the team would be delighted to answer them. And our next supporters update in September will be a centenary special about how we're going to celebrate 100 years of Woodcraft Folk and how you can get involved as a local group and a supporter. As I said, tonight's session is largely about our centres, and those of you who are on our emailing groups will have noticed a number of emails promoting our centres and everything that they have to offer. Our trustees have been developing a strategy for our centres. It is true that they have been developed in a very piecemeal way, largely in response to local volunteers. But as we head for our centenary, we're looking at ways to make sure that they are both financially and environmentally sustainable, whilst delivering really good quality learning opportunities to woodcraft groups, schools and other youth organisations. So I'm going to spend a little time telling you about their news, about some special offers, about some of the work that they've been doing with schools in 2024, and giving you lots of dates for your diaries and opportunities for you to get involved as a volunteer. So the good news that's worth celebrating is that numbers of guests are increasing year on year at Biblins, Cudham and Highgate. And those three centres have exceeded the pre-COVID occupancy level. So that's really, really positive. That means more children and young people are having an opportunity to have a residential at a Woodcraft Folk Centre. We've also seen an increase in the types of activities delivering Woodcraft Folk aims and principles, which is wonderful to see. And this year we celebrated Biblins receiving the Institute of Outdoor Learning accreditation for quality learning outside the classroom, but they have also just delivered an IOL accredited bushcraft course to volunteers, staff and leaders who run other youth organisations who use the site at Biblins. So do check out the calendar for future training dates. We'd like to see as many of our volunteers there as possible. And the big news really is it's all about birthdays. Whilst the organisation as a whole is very much focused on the centenary in 2025, this year has also been a big year for birthdays. Lockerbrook will be celebrating its 60th in the autumn. Highgate has just celebrated its 25th, the baby of the centre network. And here in this picture, you can see the Mayor of Hebden Bridge planting a tree with some Woodcraft Folk members. And the Mayor himself was also a member of Woodcraft Folk locally in his youth. So we had about 40 to 50 people who attended the birthday celebrations at Highgate, and we're looking forward to that centre getting busier as the months go on. Cudham, I can't ignore Cudham, also celebrated its 50th, and this weekend will be hosting its first oral history training event. So Cudham, as part of its 50th celebration, successfully attracted a grant from the Heritage Lottery Fund, which will see volunteers collecting archive material and creating a heritage space at the centre for groups to use when they visit. So you'll be able to see badges, past and present, camp menus and all sorts of things, including the recordings of the founders of Cudham from a Woodcraft Folk perspective. So this project will be ongoing, and we hope that the Heritage Room will be open by the end of this year. If you are interested in getting involved, please drop a line to cudham@woodcraft.org.uk. But here in the picture is volunteers and young members raising a glass at the Cudham celebration event, which took place weekend before last. The other news at Cudham is that our relationship with Free to Be Kids continues. And last year they were able to support over 200 vulnerable young people to have a residential experience at Cudham, and we're on track for an even higher number this year. So that's really positive. Other news, Lockerbrook has a summer special offers for you all. So this summer, you would have seen in your inboxes today, perhaps an invitation to have a sleepover at a reduced rate of £13 per person. And this is using the activity barn and not the sleeping barn, but full access to the showers, the bathrooms, the kitchen, the dining room, and the activity suite, just for the summer, as we have some last minute availability. If you do want the whole of the centre, there's a 15% discount on all bookings made between now and the end of September for that period in August and September. Please use the reference FOF, Friends of the Folk, 24 when booking. Do drop Lockabrook an email if you are interested in taking a visit there, lockabrook@woodcraft.org.uk. And then I wanted to share a little bit more of the wider work. Obviously, as Woodcraft Folk members, many of us have had opportunities to visit the centres with our groups or as part of national projects or events. But it's not just Woodcraft Folk groups who use our centres. The groups welcome youth organisations and schools. And we've been delighted to develop a new relationship with the Ronald Ross Primary School at Cudham, who have returned this year for their second residential experience. And that's a really lovely story. Woodcraft Folk first made a link with Ronald Ross School as part of a Skills for Life post-COVID pilot project being run by the Greater London Assembly. And Ronald Ross so enjoyed the 6 weeks that we ran weekly sessions with their Key Stage 2 pupils that they raised some money by having a dress down day for Woodcraft Folk. And in return, we encouraged them to come along to Cudham for their school residential, and that they've returned now for their second year. So for us, it's really beautiful because it's a relationship that started with the membership team and now has been taken on by the centre team. And from that very small acorn of delivering cooperative games with their Key Stage 2 pupils, we're now welcoming them as residential guests at Cudham. Also at Cudham this year, we've started to deliver work experience for special educational needs pupils from the Riverside School in Bromley. So these are young adults who are looking for very practical experience, opportunities to develop their skills and help them for when they make that transition out of school into adult life. And here in this picture is Biblins and a group of pupils who worked with Alex as part of the Adventures Away from Home School project. This school, we did a very targeted intervention over 5 weeks with up to 9 pupils at a time for people who were finding it difficult to attend school on a regular basis. The young people all had their own different experiences of school. Some were experiencing family bereavement and were finding it quite difficult and full of lots of anxiety being in mainstream school. Others were missing school because of poor relationships with their peers or with behavioural issues. And through the weeks at Biblins, the young people who all live locally had opportunities to engage in cooperative challenges. Here they're doing archery, they did some canoeing, some bushcraft, but also had great joy just running across the Biblins Bridge. And the school were really, really pleased and reported improvement in attendance and improvement in the way that the pupils were communicating both with their peers and with teaching staff. And it's this type of work that we're looking to continue. So if you have a relationship with a school, please do have a conversation about maybe how Woodcraft Folk can help them, either by hosting a geography field trip or a Year 6 residential, or doing some very targeted intervention work. The more the merrier. And at the moment, 85% of the groups who visit Biblins are from the school sector. But it's not just schools. The centres also provide a very thorough programme for Woodcraft Folk groups. And perhaps you've seen some of these dates. Do take a look at the calendar page of our website. But this summer, Biblins will be hosting our first National Pioneer Camp, and we're expecting 100 people to come down to Biblins at the end of July and engage in a traditional Woodcraft Folk camp, but just targeted at those young pioneers. Biblins will also be hosting in September a weekend for Elfins. Elfins and their leaders from any group across the country come and do some cooperative games, some bushcraft, and have a residential experience in a sort of supportive environment, an opportunity for both the Elfins and their volunteers to develop closer links with other groups across the country. Shortly after that, in September, Lockabrook will be holding a similar event for venturers. Again, it's a mixture of the things that you would expect at a district camp, but targeted at that venturer age group. Some outdoor adventures, some cooperative play, some craft, and lots of clam. Lockabrook, as I mentioned earlier, will also be having a special 60th birthday event at the very beginning of October. And they are welcoming members past and present to come and join them for a cream tea. Again, more activity weekends aimed at different age groups. So Biblins will be hosting a Venture One in the middle of October, and Highgate will be hosting a Camps for All event, so an event for young people who are in Woodcraft folk groups, but also those who don't have a Woodcraft folk group near them, either because they've aged out of their local offer or they live too far away. So if you want to come and join that Camps for All, that event will be taking place at the end of October at Highgate, followed very swiftly by a Venture Weekend at Cudham and another Camps for All in November, and the very traditional and much loved Elfin Sleepover in December. Here's a lovely photograph of what I believe is the Clapham district camp at Cudham around the fire pit. And for those who've not been to Cudham recently, the renovation works last year installed some new bathrooms as well as reconfigured some of the bedrooms. Do go and have a look at their website to see what they have been up to. There are lots of events. Do check out the website. They're being added to all the time, but it's not all rosy in our centre's picture. Like many parts of life, they are facing some challenges. As a charity, it's really important that we think about our financial sustainability, and we don't want to increase prices because we know that adds a huge burden on to our volunteers and to families who would like to come and engage in our activities. But we are experiencing growing costs due to the cost of living. We've seen our utilities go up, our staffing going up, and increasing compliance requirements, which are seeing our maintenance and running costs increase. We've been really lucky this year at attracting some new funding. So Adventures Away from Home was really, really helpful to provide opportunities at Lockabrook, Biblins and Cudham. And very recently, we've also had some National Lottery funding and a few bits here, there and everywhere. And if we are always looking for more opportunities. So if you see anything that you think might be relevant, do please share. We also need to be looking at how we can increase and widen participation at our centres. We don't want it just to be the opportunities for those who can afford it. As I said, it was really positive to see occupancy levels increase at Biblins, Cudham and Highgate, but we'd like to see that much more across all of our centres. So we would really like all of our supporters and volunteers to follow the centres on social media. They each have their own social media channel, to share what they're doing, and importantly, tell your friends that the centres are there. Tell your friends of yours that are community activists, that are teachers, that are youth workers, and let them know very clearly that a Woodcraft Folk Centre is available and can offer something bespoke for them. And that by supporting and attending a Woodcraft Folk Centre, their money can support wider Woodcraft folk aims and objectives. The other really important challenge for us is around environmental sustainability. Now, Woodcraft Folk Centres are at different stages of their journey, but they are all committed to reducing their impact on the environment and committing to decarbonisation as requested at our AGM last year by the venturers. It's difficult, and we are keen to hear from anybody with expertise in how we can measure and celebrate how we're reducing our environmental impact. There has been some really positive work done to introduce LED lighting in all of our centres, to look at how we can improve the energy efficiency of our boilers and heating system, including zonal controls at Cudham. So that enables us to heat the parts of the centre that we're using rather than all of the centre or none of the centre. But there is much more to be done. And finally, it's about capacity. Every centre relies on volunteers, and we would welcome more volunteers. So let me tell you a little bit about the types of things that perhaps we could have our volunteers for. But before I do that, I do need to share Cudham's latest campaign, which is a 700 at 50. So I've already mentioned that Cudham is celebrating 50 years this year, but it's looking to plant 700 new trees. Unfortunately, at the end of 2023 and beginning of 2024, we had to remove most of the trees in the surrounding area to Cudham because of ash dieback. We were having limbs from trees falling. One damaged a car, and we didn't want it to damage any children playing in the woods. And so we have started a replanting schedule, and this here is a photograph of the first tree replanted, which was planted by Hackney Venturers when they were at the centre in March. But we have a whole replanting schedule planned for this autumn, including a donation of 450 trees. But that does mean we have another 250 to attract from somewhere. So if you are interested in helping to plant or would like to donate a tree, please get in contact with Cudham at woodcraft.org.uk, because they'd love to hear from you. But as I mentioned a minute ago, we are looking for more volunteers. So we are particularly looking for people to join the committees at our centres, people who are willing to perhaps be a health and safety lead, or to help to have oversight of the finances, or be involved in communication or fundraising. If committee work is not for you and you'd rather do something else, you can join as a communications or a fundraising volunteer and work with the staff team to help us reach new audiences and maybe to attract some funding. Particular funding priorities at the moment are to support our decarbonisation agenda, but also funds which help us provide discounted stays and activities to those who perhaps wouldn't otherwise have a residential experience. Our centres at Biblins, Cudham and Lockabrook also welcome wardens whose main role is to greet guests when they arrive and to help answer any questions that they might have. Being a warden, I really enjoy it when I volunteer as a warden. I volunteered both at Lockabrook and Biblins, and you get to meet lots of different people and to share the love of woodcraft with a great number more people. The centres also host regular working parties. Cudham has one every Wednesday, and Biblins has one on the first Friday of every month. But also regularly throughout the year, there are other working parties, and I will share some dates with you. So really, there is a volunteer job for anybody who wants it. If you want to get your hands dirty, you come along to a working party, do some gardening, do some painting, do some cleaning. If you like to talk to people, come along and be a volunteer. If you fancy crunching some numbers, perhaps being a decarbonisation volunteer monitoring our impact on the environment is the right job for you, particularly if you love an Excel spreadsheet, or perhaps even being a treasurer. If you are gifted with words, communications and fundraising might suit you. The more the merrier. You don't have to volunteer the same number of hours every week. You can volunteer for one short project or for the long term. They're variable and flexible, but please get in touch. We definitely need a much broader team and truly adopt that cooperative approach to finding the solutions to sustain our centres into the next 100 years. There are, as I said, lots of events, and you can come along once or you can come along every week. So every Wednesday, there are volunteer days at Cudham. Biblins does the same, but on the first Friday of the month. Lockerbrook is hosting a very special Bracken Bashing Day on the 9th of July. Come along, bring your wellies, and get stuck in. Better than going to the gym, lots of fresh air, and you can see the impact of your work the moment you've done it. Cudham this weekend has got the oral history training. So for those volunteers who are interested in capturing the history of Cudham, the training has been delivered by Andy Flynn from UCL, where you'll get to find out about oral history techniques, how to use recording equipment, as well as make plans for capturing those oral histories before they're lost. Cudham also is planning a special working weekend for the beginning of September, which will do some tree planting, but also general maintenance on site. A similar weekend will take place at Biblins at the beginning of October to take down Camp Kudu and put it to bed for the end of the season. It's a mixture of moving and cleaning some canvas, but also there is some folk singing and chatting around the campfire. So it's not all just work. They do call it a party, but I will be honest with you and say you will work up a sweat at the same time. And Lockerbrook hosting another similar weekend at the very end of November. You are welcome, if you fancy touring the country, to do them all, but also just one day will make a difference. Everybody is welcome. Come and talk to the team about how you can contribute. That's it for my centres. Apart from the messages, they're there. We want you to use them. We want you to support them. We want you to shout about them and tell all your friends that they are a wonderful asset, each offering something different. And we would really encourage more people to engage and support them. And finally, we've reached the part of the session where I go, if you can help, we'd love to hear from you. Some of you may have noticed that Friends of the Folk got a bit of a relaunch last month, and we signed up 30 new donors, which is really positive. The Friends of the Folk are individuals who perhaps used to volunteer, or perhaps they are a relative to a young member who make regular donations. There is no minimum amount, so some donate just £3 a month, others donate annually. But the important thing is it gives Woodcraft Folk some unrestricted money, so we can respond to the needs of our volunteers and groups, and it's not tied into delivering something specific like our project income. Please encourage your friends and family to become a Friend of the Folk. They'll receive a regular newsletter from CCR fundraiser, and know and have that warm feeling in their heart that they're supporting future generations of children to have a Woodcraft Folk experience. Other things, this one won't cost you any more money, I promise. Woodcraft Folk is a charity that signed up to Give As You Live, which is a platform that raises money for free. So every time you shop online, a percentage of your shopping is donated to Woodcraft Folk at no extra cost to you. So for example, if you go on and do your Sainsbury's shop, some of Sainsbury's marketing budget will be sent to Woodcraft Folk. All you have to do is visit this Give As You Live website link, have it running in the back of your browser, and every time you do online shopping, Woodcraft Folk will get a little free gift of some cash in its bank account for you just doing your normal online shopping without you having to spend any more. So please, if you can take a moment to set that up, it'll just run in the background of your computer and will help us. And you've heard this before, but I will say it again. We're also encouraging trade union members to ask their branches to affiliate to Woodcraft Folk. We've had a number of new branches affiliate this year, so I'm going to keep on asking and see if we can increase that more. So we had 16 new branches affiliate in 2023. We can provide you with a model motion and a template letter for your branch to affiliate, and we were really delighted to see new branches across the country sign up, and it really helps create connections both locally and nationally. And Woodcraft Folk have been an active partner in the National Education Union No Child Left Behind campaign, which is fighting childhood poverty. If you are interested in getting some support about how to get your trade union to affiliate, please message fundraising@woodcraft.org.uk and CC will be able to help you, or visit this link here on the page where you'll find, as I said, a template letter and a template model motion. Affiliation donations start from only £50, and we are seeing quite an increase in local branches signing up, and we would love to encourage more of them before we go into conference season. And thank you for that. And now another little opportunity, and this is through the General Federation of Trade Unions, who run the Union Lotto. It's a little gamble every week, where you could win the top prize of up to £25,000. Every ticket costs £1, and with that £1 you would be supporting the Education Trust at the General Federation, as well as Woodcraft Folk. So every month we get a little premium from the General Federation based on the number of players who choose to play the Union Lotto for Woodcraft Folk. Take a look if you fancy spending a little bit on the lotto every week. Woodcraft Folk will get a little benefit from it, and any other money raised will go to support the General Federation of Trade Unions. Take a look, sign up. You never know. Luck might be shining on you this week. And that's the end of my presentation, and I will invite you to ask any questions, but I will stop recording because I know that some of you are shy. Thank you, everybody.